family. Michael, as usual, you make a brother feel good.
Praise Yahuwah. Aki, it's always a baraka to hear you, Aki. There's something about your voice, your demeanor, the ruach in you. You have a comforting voice, man. You're one who is truly baruch with humility and the love of Yahuwah, and I truly appreciate you, Aki. I just want you to know that with all sincerity. I really do appreciate you, my Aki. And it's always wonderful to hear you. All right. There is a question, and to the Akud Sharia, it remind me to go back and to check with the family on YouTube also. There is a question from Aki Keith, who is joining us from YouTube. I believe Aki Keith is in California. The question is from Yeshayahu chapter 66, verses 22 through 24. Is it during the period of the 1,000-year reign or after we're in the new Jerusalem? And I'm going to go to the text. I'll read the text. So let me read the text, and then I will respond to the question. Okay, so I want to put the text on the screen here. That's from Yeshayahu chapter 66. Let me go to the text. I'll have to share it on the screen, so just bear with me just for a second. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and share the screen so that I believe that for the family on Fuse, you're still seeing my screen, right? So you're still seeing, yep, yes, you're still seeing that screen, so that's good. All right. Let me just go over here. I'm going to share the screen. Yeshayahu chapter 66, 22 through 24. Okay, bear with me. All right, let me pull up Yeshayahu chapter 66. If I can just get that box out my way. Yeshayahu 66. Yeshayahu 66. I want to say, I'm not sure if Akujina can hear me yet. 20 through to 24. Oops. No, what am I doing now? 66. All right. Now I'm going to go down to, oops, went too far. Sorry about that. Yeshayahu chapter 66, 22 through 24. For as the new heavens, the new Shamayim, and the new Arats that I make stand before me, declares Yahuwah, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from one new moon, from new moon to new moon, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahuwah. And they shall go forth and look upon the corpse of the men who have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, and their fire not be quenched, and they shall be repulsive to all flesh. Well, verse 24 is key to the timeline here, family. Verse 24 is key. So the question was, is this during the millennial reign, or is this during the remaining reign after basically after everything has been settled and now we live and reign with Yahuwah? Well, the answer is that this would be during the millennial reign. This would be during the millennial reign. This would be as we come to the judgment of the wicked. So in the book of Katsun, or the book of Revelation, we find where Yahuwah tells us that there are two judgments, right? That there are two judgments. Just a little bit of quiz here, if you don't mind, family. I like for us to have some quizzes on the scriptures from time to time. And so, just, for a little bit of fun, what are the two judgments mentioned in scripture? What are the two judgments mentioned in scripture? I'm going to try to see if I can see the different chats here. What are the two judgments mentioned in scripture? Let me see if I can move this box over, maybe make this one smaller. Okay. And it's in the way. It's in the way. I don't know how I can get it out the way. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to move it out the way. Okay. Let me see if I can see it from another angle. Bear with me just for a second. I'm not sure if let me try to see. What are the two judgments mentioned in scripture? Anybody want to answer that for me? What are the two judgments mentioned in scripture? This is all we. Yes, okay. Judgment of the wicked and the judgment of the righteous. Good. Yes, absolutely. Tada. That was from Akeem Franklin. Okay, so the judgment of the wicked. How is that judgment described? What is the name of that judgment? How is that judgment described? The judgment of the wicked. In the book of Katsun, according to the book of Revelation, what is the name given to that judgment? Anyone recall? Just a little bit of quiz. Don't feel yes, the great white throne judgment. The great white throne judgment. Absolutely, the great white throne judgment. Okay, another little bit of quiz. Another little quiz here. The great white throne judgment. When does it occur according to the scriptures? Is it the first judgment or is it the last judgment? The great white throne judgment. Is it the first judgment? Yes, it's the last judgment. The last judgment or the second judgment. Okay. Now, okay, so going to the question, you see, as we ponder these things, it helps us to understand, right? That's the whole point. So the great white throne judgment, the second judgment or the last judgment, comes at the close. There's a microphone in your family. It comes at the, creating a lot of feedback. The mic for me. Let me see. Bear with me just for a second. Getting louder. I'm trying to stop it. Let's see. Okay. Tada. I want to say Shabbat Shalom, family. Not sure who is it that just joined us. Might have been Aki Trevin. I'm not sure. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you, Aki. Okay. So yeah. So the second judgment, or according to the book of Katsun, the book of Revelation, also known as the Great White Throne Judgment, that comes at the end of toward the end, the close of the millennial reign. So during the millennial reign, according to the scriptures, the wicked will still inhabit the earth. But also according to the scriptures, the wicked will serve the people of Yahuwah. Okay? The wicked will serve the people of Yahuwah during that period. And then comes the time of the close, the time of the end of the wicked, where the wicked is now brought into judgment before Yahuwah, and this is the great white throne judgment, and there they are they're summoned, and where they'll have to give an answer. Now, there's something important about judgment also that we have to understand. A lot of times people talk about judgment. For example, the Christians. I remember a few years ago with Hurricane Katrina and a few other things that was taking place, and I remember seeing this guy on Christian TV. You're familiar with him, I'm sure. Many of you probably are. His name is Kim Clement. Kim Clement. He's from South Africa, right? And so I remember seeing Kim Clement, a so-called prophet, right? And he was on TV. By the way, Kim Clement had prophesied that God told him that what's his name? John McCain was going to win the election against Barack Obama. But then John McCain lost. So I don't know how that quite go. How he validate that. But Scripture tells us that any man who prophesy, and if that thing does not come to pass, do not fear that man. That man is a false prophet. He's a liar. You see. Yeah. So yeah, dreamers of dreams. That's what they are. Kim Clement, during the time of Katrina and everything, they had Kim Clement on TV, and he was saying, no, because some of the Christians were saying this is judgment, so to protect their idol, to protect the to protect the character or whatever, I guess, of their God, they had to bring out the big guns like Kim Clement and them to say, no, this is not the work of God. God's not judging anybody. God does not behave like that. And so this was not judgment, Well, certainly we know that the Creator is not God. God is not a title of the Creator. It does not esteem him. That's the title of an idol. The point is that you have Christians who believe when it comes to judgment, they're waiting on the judgment. You see, they're waiting on the judgment. But judgment is something that's ongoing. Judgment is something. So we have to understand this about judgment, that judgment is something that's ongoing. Now, that is why the scriptures talk about a final judgment. So you have judgment that's ongoing. But then there comes a time where there is the judgment of all judgments, and that's where all judgment will cease, because the wicked will be judged. There will be no more wickedness in the earth, because the wicked will be wiped out, and there will be no more need for judgment, you see. And so it brings us to final judgment. That final judgment comes toward the end of the 1,000-year reign of Yahuwah and his people. The end of the 1,000-year reign does not signify the end of Yahuwah's reign in the earth, but that's where everything becomes new. That's where creation, the way it is supposed to function, will begin to function the way it was designed to be functioned. That's where the created will function the way that it was originally designed to be functioned. You see, that's where we will function without transgression. That's where we will function without trampling Yahuwah's instructions and his Torah. That's where imperfection will cease, and that's where we will be perfected in Yahuwah, and we will live and reign with Yahuwah in shalom, in true shalom. And so to answer that question, Aki, Yeshayahu chapter 66 verses 22 through 24 is making reference to during that period, but toward the end of the period, where the wicked is brought into judgment, the judgment of the wicked, and where the wicked will be destroyed and will be, their place will be found no more, you see. According to the scriptures, and I don't know if all of Yasharal, because the scriptures does not make it clear, and that's where it's important. You know what Akut Yaraya said in the song earlier. The message there we have to get and understand is that the scriptures don't make everything totally and absolutely clear. And it's all right to say that we don't know all the answers, because if Yahuwah don't give all the answers, then we can't begin to assume or to write things in. We do know that Yasharal will be regathered to their land, but as we study the scriptures, it also seemed to suggest that even during the 1,000-year reign, all of us won't be in the land, but we will be going to the land. We will have the freedom to go to the land, but we won't all be residing in the land even during that period. As we study the scriptures, it seemed to suggest that. And so I believe it is safe to say that some will be in the land, and still, even during that period, some will be out the land, but will have the freedom to go to the land. That's what it seemed to suggest to me. But again, I can't speak with 1,000% clarity on that, so to speak. But that's what it seemed to suggest to me as I studied the scriptures. So some will be, we know for sure that Yasharal will be in the land, but will all be in the land, or will we still be outside the land, traveling to the land at the appointed times? Scripture seem to suggest that. But again, all the details aren't at this time available, and so I can't say that everybody will be in the land. It's possible that some may still be outside the land, but at the appointed times will travel to the land, along with strangers who take hold of the Torah of Yahuwah will also travel with them. That's what it seemed to me in the scriptures. All right. In Christianity, I think Aki Franklin wrote this, in Christianity, I was thought we would be in heaven. Yes. It is thought so, but that, I don't believe that to be true. There is a, understand this now, this is where this comes in, and this is where the scriptures is a little bit foggy. The scriptures do speak about the feast, the marriage feast of the Lamb and his bride, and that takes place in Shamayim. Okay, that takes place in Shamayim. The scriptures does teach that. How long will we stay in Shamayim? I don't know. I don't know how long we will stay there. But the scriptures also let us know that during the millennial reign we will be on the earth, and that Yahuwah will set up his kingdom in Jerusalem. He and his people will rule and reign over the wicked from Jerusalem. So we know, based on scripture, that we will not spend the entire time in Shamayim. You see, but the scriptures does speak of the feast, the marriage feast of the Lamb taking place in Shamayim. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. Yes, the scripture speaks of different levels of Shamayim. The scriptures does, indeed. And so, take for example when Yasharal, and you can see that in the tabernacle. Okay, you can see that in the tabernacle also, because in the tabernacle or the Haykal, you have 3 levels. You have the outer court, you have the inner court, and you have the most set apart place. So take for example when Shaitan, even now, as he goes to and fro in the earth, seeking for those whom he may devour, every once in a while he presents himself to Yahuwah. Now, can he, and please understand, even as I speak about Shaitan here, that Shaitan is not just limited to a spiritual being. Okay, Shaitan is not just limited to a spiritual messenger, but Shaitan is also people. According to scripture, Shaitan is also people, and that must be understood. And some people like to blame everything on Shaitan, a spiritual foe. Now realize that Shaitan is also quite physical also. Shaitan, when he presents himself before Yahuwah, for example, even with Ayub, who they call Job, when he presented himself before Yahuwah, and Yahuwah said, "Where have you been?" And he said, "I've been going to and fro in the earth, looking for somebody." And that's where Yahuwah said, "Have you considered my servant Ayub?" Well, where did he present himself to Yahuwah at? Where did he present himself? Did he go to the highest heavens? Did he go into the most set apart place? No. He would be excluded from the most set apart place. He was thrown down from the most set apart place. You see, and so no, he doesn't have access to the most set apart place. While at the same time, Yahuwah is such that he is not limited to one place in the heavens, but he fills the entire heavens and he fills the earth. That's the greatness of Yahuwah. And so he asked, can you build a house to house me? So the heavens are my throne and the earth is my footstool, you see. All right, the scriptures doesn't make it clear which level of the heavens we will be at for. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It certainly does not. Absolutely, Aki. It certainly does not. Absolutely, it does not make it clear. Yeah, yeah, and you know what? I don't know where they get that from. People talk about the seventh heaven. I don't know where they get that from. Even in church, I've heard them talk about the seventh heaven. You see, yeah, I've heard it talked about in church, but I don't know where they. Like you said, it must be watching too much TV. But that it's not in scripture. My wife said they got it at the gambling table. Yeah, rolling them dice. Yeah. Okay. Now that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Let's go up here to this the text from Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. And that's what confuses a lot of people. And you know what? At this point, knowing what I know now with what they have done to the scriptures, I would even question. I question whether or not this text should be there the way it is, or was it tampered with? Okay? I question whether or not it is presented the way it should be presented, or was it tampered with? Because, you see, family, it goes against scripture the way it is presented, because it gives you the idea that you have no physical enemy, that you have no natural enemy. Now, let's ask the question. Let's ask that question. Did Yasharal and does Yasharal have physical, natural adversaries? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that text suggests that Yasharal has no physical, natural adversaries. By the way, please note that the word or the title Shaitan, while some people would like to limit the title and to give it a description of a spiritual foe, that's not the definition. The definition of the word Shaitan is adversary. Adversary. So watch this now. When Peter said to Yahuah Hamashiach, Yahusha, when Kapha said to him that I will not allow you to wash, no, he said, no, I'm not going to allow them to take you, right? When Yahusha was declaring what had to come, and Kapha said, no, it's not going down. Not by any means, it's not going down. Yahusha said to him, get behind me, Shaitan. Now the Christians have taught us to say that Yahusha was not speaking to him, he was speaking to the devil in him. But Yahusha was actually speaking to Kapha. Kapha. He wasn't speaking to anything in him. He was speaking to Kapha. And why did he call him Shaitan? Because he opposed the will of Yahuah. He was an adversary to the will of Yahuah. Another thing we must understand when we go to the book of Ezekiel, I believe it is, where people, they're speaking, they said this is speaking about the spiritual foe Shaitan. Who said, I will ascend and I will do this and I will do that. That was not speaking about a spiritual being. It was not speaking about a spiritual foe. It was actually speaking about an earthly king. But yet the scriptures speak of that king as Shaitan. You see, one who opposes the will of Yahuah. One who is an adversary to the people of Yahuah. So we must understand that Shaitan is not limited to a spiritual foe. Do we have spiritual foes? Do we have spiritual enemies? Absolutely, we do. But we also have physical enemies, Shaitan. If you go to the book of Katsun, the book of Revelation, who does it say will put us, the people of Yasharal, in prison? Anybody recall that? It says somebody will put us in prison, literally prisons, just like it prophesied in the book of Yeshayahu that we will be put in prisons. I'm not talking about some spiritual prison. Yahuah was telling us that when we are taken into captivity, that we will be put in jail. It actually says Shaitan will put us in prison. You see, I believe that's in the book of Katsun, Revelation chapter 2. Let me try to go to that very, very quickly. You see, some translation might say the wicked. Yes, some translation says the wicked, right? Some translation says Shaitan. Well, Shaitan is the wicked. The wicked is Shaitan. You get the point. Revelation. Katsun. Yes. Oh, wait, I got to go to it. I don't remember the verse. Let me get to it here if I can. It's either chapter 2 or chapter 3, but I believe it's chapter 2, maybe verse 9. Let's see. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. I know your works and pressure and poverty, yet you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Yahudim and are not, but are the congregation of Shaitan. Okay? Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. See, Shaitan is about to throw some of you into prison. You see, the word devil don't belong there. The word devil comes from Greek mythology. The word devil comes from the word diablo. Okay, the word devil comes from the word diablo. Diablo is a Greek mythical creature. Okay, an ugly Greek mythical creature. But it says, do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. See, Shaitan is about to throw some of you into prison in order to try you, and you shall have pressure 10 days. Be trustworthy until death, and I shall give you the crown of life. Now let's look at this from another prophecy. Let's go over now to the book of Yeshayahu, where the same prophecy was made. The book of Yeshayahu, I believe it's in chapter 42. Let's go over to the book of Yeshayahu. Let me just check to see if everybody can see Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 42. Can everybody see? I messed up. Hope I don't think I might have demanded too much of this. 42. Isaiah chapter 42. Yeshayahu chapter 42. Let me just check something. Yes, as M. Harrison says, in a lot of ways, we are our own Shaitan. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Now, let's go to Isaiah or Yeshayahu chapter 42. Let's go over there very quickly, because you see, this is just prophecy. The fact that such a high percentage of our people are in jail, a high percentage of our people are in prisons, our men are locked up. I want you to know and understand, family, that this is not accidental nor coincidental. You see, it's a part of the curse that we are under. It is not accidental nor coincidental. So the same thing that Katsun or Revelation chapter 2 and verse 10 is talking about, we're living it. And we have lived it. And we will continue to live it until we are delivered. But it's not just Yahukanan in the book of Katsun or Revelation that has said this. Because you see, it is Yahuwah who gives his word to his prophets. You see, and so therefore, we're going to find the same thing repeated again. Let's go over to the book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 42. Chapter 42. And we're going to go down here a little bit, starting probably around verse 19 or so. I'm going to begin at verse 17, because see, this is what leads to this. I've got to deal with the issue. I've got to deal with the transgression that have brought us into this. Verse 16. Let's back up to verse 16 of Yeshayahu chapter 42, Isaiah chapter 42. And I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. Who are the blind here, family? And I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. I shall lead the blind. The blind. That's us. A people who once had eyes to see. Our eyes have been put out. You see. We have become blind because of our stiff-neckedness, because of our stout-heartedness, because of our wickedness against Yahuwah. He has made us blind. And I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. In paths they have not known, I lead them. I make darkness light before them, and crooked places straight. These matters I shall do for them, and I shall not forsake them. So there is coming a time when Yahuwah is going to open up the eyes of the blind, and we are living in this time right now. Yahuwah is opening up the eyes of the blind. The crooked place is becoming straight for us. Darkness, a place of darkness, is becoming as noonday to us. We are beginning to see right through the works of the wicked. We're beginning to see right through the works of the system. When we open the Bible, when we open these books that they have given us, we are now beginning to see the crookedness. We're beginning to see how they have twisted the truth. We're beginning to see how they have stolen our history. We're beginning to see how they have stolen our identity, how they have stripped us of our names. We're beginning to see it because Yahuwah is making darkness as the noonday for us, you see. The blind, the people who have been blind for so long, Yahuwah is opening up our eyes. And I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. Yeah, we did not know this way. We have not known his name. We did not know Yahuwah. But now Yahuwah is leading us the blind by a way that we have not known. In paths they have not known, I shall lead them. You know, it's people are looking at us. People who are still in the churches are looking at us. And they're saying, for those whose eyes have not been opened, they're saying that these people are lunatic. They're saying that we're idiots. They're calling us all kinds of stuff. They're saying that we're making up stuff. You know why they're saying we're making up stuff? Because they don't see what we can see. Their eyes have not been opened to the truth that exists. Their eyes have not been opened to the truth that has always existed. Their eyes have not been opened to the truth that will always exist. Their eyes have not been opened to our deliverer, you see. And so to them, this is nonsense. Just like to us at one time, it was nonsense. Absolutely. And so Yahuwah says, and I shall lead the blind by a way they have not known. In paths they have not known, I lead them. I make darkness light before them, and crooked places straight. These matters I shall do for them, and I shall not forsake them. Verse 17. Those who trust in idols. Yes, we have trusted in idols. Jesus, God, the Lord. When you name whatever idols we have called upon. Jehovah, whatever we have called upon, they're all idols. Those who trust in idols, who say to the molded images, yes, that molded image of Jesus. Those who trust in idols, who say to the molded images, you are our mighty ones. Have we not all said this? We have looked upon that emasculated, homosexual looking Jesus. We have bowed down to him. We have bowed to his mark, the cross. Those who trust in idols, who say to the molded images, that includes the cross and includes that picture, you are our mighty ones, shall be turned back utterly ashamed. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, and see. Now, when you begin to talk like this, our people get offended. As deaf as we may be, and as blind as we may be, and as dumb as we may be, we do not want anybody telling us that about ourselves. We are a foolish, prideful people. I was watching a video on YouTube of Obama at the, what they call it, the where you make all those jokes, something, whatever they have at the White House. And so, I don't know if you're aware, but a few weeks ago, Hillary Clinton and the New York mayor, they were making some jokes at some function. And one of them made a joke about CPT. And so the other one the correspondence dinner to the Akut. The other one looked at the other like, what's CPT? So they had a black guy there, and so he comes in and he says, that's colored people time. So that created a big stir. That created an uproar. They say, black people say, that's jokes you don't make. White people don't make those jokes. So Obama at the correspondence dinner did a joke about CPT. And so he made a joke about CPT, and then his response is, what CPT means? He says, those are jokes white people don't make. So, but now I bring that up to say that we as a people, we don't like to be told about ourselves, period. You see? I know I'm always late, but I don't need you to tell me I'm always late. You see? I know I'm prideful. I know I'm puffed up. I know I'm this, I know I'm that, but I don't need you to tell me I'm this or I'm that. We even get offended at Yahuwah when he tells us that we are this and we are that. But this is what Yahuwah has to say about us. Those who trust in idols, who say to the molded images, you are our mighty ones, shall be turned back utterly ashamed. Now hear what he says. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, and see. He's talking about us. Who is blind but my servant? Who is blind but my servant? Or deaf as my messenger whom I send? Who is blind as he who is at peace, and blind as servant of Yahuwah? You see much, but do not observe. Ears are open, but do not hear. It has delighted Yahuwah for the sake of his righteousness, his set-apartness, to make the Torah great and esteemed. But this is a people robbed and plundered. Now this is where we're trying to get to, talking about Shaitan putting us in prisons. This is the same thing that Katsun is talking about. But this is a people robbed and plundered, All of them are as snared in holes, talking about in prison houses, in prison holes. All of them are snared in holes, and they are hidden in prison houses. They have become a prey with no one to deliver, for plunder and no one to say, restore. Who among you gives ear to this, pays attention and hears for the time to come? Who gave Yahuah for plunder and Yasharal to the robbers? Was it not Yahuah, he against whom you transgressed? For they would not walk in his ways, and they did not obey his Torah. So he has poured on him his burning displeasure and the strength of battle, and it set him on fire all around. Yet he did not understand, and it burned against him, yet he did not take it to heart. So going back to Shaitan, and who puts us in prison, and whether or not Yasharal have physical adversaries, physical Shaitan, yes. Whole nations to us are Shaitan. Peoples to us are Shaitan. You see, what will these people do to us? What will Shaitan do to us? They will rob us. Verse 22, Yeshayahu chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and plundered. Yeah, we go to work and yet we have nothing to show for it. Why? We're robbed and plundered. We pay for the rich to remain rich. It is expensive to be poor because we pay for the rich to be rich. It is the poor, we being the oppressed. We pay more taxes than the rich. We pay more penalties than the rich. We serve more prison time than the rich. Did you just hear on the news about that politician, advisor to George Bush, well-known rich Jewish man who had billions of dollars. Now he raped some little kids, raped little boys, and got caught. And when he got caught, he tried to pay off people. He got caught up in a sting, tried to pay the police $3 million not to say anything. And even after it was exposed that he tried to do this, and even after he had raped a whole lot of little boys, he went to court. Guess how much time they gave him? They just passed down judgment. Now he's raped. No, he's not only dealing with rape, he's actually dealing with bribing police. Now that's a federal crime. $3 million. They want to pay $3 million in hush money. How much time did they give him? You know how much time they gave him? He's got to spend a year in jail. He's got to spend a year in jail. He's got to spend a year in jail. Now, I was, earlier on in my life, I was a manager at 7-Eleven. And a man came in there, black man came in there one day, and he was foolish too. He came in one day and he tried to steal some stuff. And I approached him, went to take the stuff from him, and he swung at me. When he swung at me, he missed, and I kicked him, and he fell into the racks with chips. Now, okay, I got the stuff back. I called the cops and made a report of what happened. But the next day, about the same time, this man came back. And he's standing right outside the door, leaning against the wall. I called the cops. I didn't know why he was there. I didn't know what he was up to. I didn't know if he wanted revenge or what. Called the cops. The cops came, and they took him into custody. Because he swung at me, and they could see in the video that he swung at me, the police wrote up in their report that it was an armed robbery because force was used. He attempted to hit me. He didn't hit me because I stepped back and he missed. But they wrote it up as an attempted robbery. Now he went to court. You know how much time that man got for stealing some TV dinners which he never left the store with? You know how much time he got? He got 15 years. He got 15 years. Never left the store with the stuff. But the system gave him 15 years. Now here's somebody who have been found to be raping little kids. Grown man, but he's a billionaire and he has the right complexion. Tried then, after he was caught, to pay somebody $3 million to be quiet. And they exposed that fact. And even after all of that, he only gets 1 year in jail. So you see, we pay the price in every way. We do hard time for hardly anything, where those who really do the crime get away with nothing. You see, and that's just the reality of it. And that's what the scripture says would happen to us. But it is important for us to know and to understand that we do have physical adversaries. We have physical adversaries. I'm in a conversation with a lady on Google right now, on my Google Plus account. I shared something which is basically talking about us as people. Stop being so divisive, black and white, whatever we call each other. Stop being so divisive. I shared that, but and then this lady, I think she mean well, and she's commenting, and we're having a conversation about the whole matter. And her point is that there is no racism because there is no race. And I say, well, no, you can't just deny the fact that racism exists. Yeah, race is something that was invented. And as a result of the invention of race, you do have racism. She was saying there is no racism and there are no racist people. No, that's foolish for us to think. We can't say that. We really cannot say that, because there are racist people and there is racism. So we can't just deny it, you see. We can't just deny it. I just saw Kut Amuna just ask, yeah, what happened to the subway guy? The subway guy, I believe he got probation and I don't know, a little bit of time. I saw something the other day, a headline somewhere. I didn't read the whole thing, but he didn't get any serious time, you see. Now, so we can't deny, you know, what the amazing thing is, what has happened to our people is that when it comes to pointing the finger at the people who have done evil to us, it's the last thing we will do. We're more quick to defend them than to speak what's actually true. Yeah, you did this to us. No, a lot of people have a tough time with that. No, don't talk about what white society has done to black people. Don't do that. No, you're spreading hatred. You're creating division. You're this and you're that. No, the facts are the facts. Let's listen. If we're really honest, and if we really want to resolve something, then we got to deal with the facts. We got to deal with the truth. We got to face the truth. We can't live in denial. That don't fix anything. The only thing that does is it allows the anger and the resentment and everything else to continue. You do not resolve anything by simply acting as if it does not happen or it did not happen. You don't resolve anything like that. So when it comes to Shaitan, it's the same thing. People are quick to say, there we have a spiritual foe, we have a spiritual adversary, Shaitan. No, but we don't have any physical Shaitan. We don't have any physical adversaries. We do not have people who spend weeks, months, years, hours, moments, days and night planning our destruction. No, no, that just accidentally happens. No, no, people do not sit around and brainstorm and come up with ways and laws to hinder us and to prohibit us as a people, to stifle us as a people. No, no, they don't. People, no, they don't do that stuff. No, that's all in your mind. What's wrong with you? You're too racist. You're too radical. You're a terrorist. You like to go around spreading hatred. No, people don't do that stuff. What's wrong with you? Yeah, our people think that way. The moment you begin to tell the truth, they think that way. You talk about Jesus, oh, they get mad at you. You see. So that's just the reality. But the scriptures tells us, family. So, that's why I say. So the scriptures let us know that Shaitan is also people and even nations. If we go to the book of Ezekiel, you see Shaitan is described as a nation, as a king, a literal king. So that's why I say, as we reflect upon Ephesians, where it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, just like they tell us, slave, obey your master and do everything the master tell you to do, no matter what the master do to you. They would have you think that the kind of slavery that the scriptures speak about is the kind of slavery that they promoted and that they practiced. That's not the kind of slavery that the scriptures speak about. So when the slave master got up and opened the book and said, slave, obey your master, and he said with all this venom and bitterness and hatred, talking to the slave, and if you're a slave, if you're not listening to this, then you're going to burn in hellfire for the rest of your life. And they use that to brainwash the slave, use that to brainwash us. No, that's not what the scriptures is talking about. The scripture didn't tell us that we must just roll over and let people run over us. The scripture tells us that nowhere. Have you seen where Yahuah tell Yasharal to rise up against those who oppress them? No, but we have been dumbed down to think that, oh no, we should never, and that will never happen. Yahuah would never say such a thing. Yahuah would never have us do that, but Yahuah would have the wicked do it to us though, right? Yeah, Yahuah would have the wicked do it to us, but he would never have us do anything like that. No, but he would have them do it to you. Wait, so who is he for? Is he for me or is he for them? Yeah, but we have been brainwashed. We have been bamboozled. We have been hoodwinked. You see. Now, so that's referring to Ephesians. It's important for us to keep these things in mind. Well, once again, family, Tuda for those questions. Certainly, we haven't gotten to our study yet, but I encourage and I encourage the questions and comments, and I appreciate you asking, family. I really do.
Okay, Michael.
Yes, go ahead, Akut.
I didn't think he was going to come back over to us.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is a Cooch show, and most of you know I'm from Conroe, Texas. But for those who are new to the room, well, I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to the Mashpaka, and for those that are with us for the first time, Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Aki, I have a question about Shaitan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know that Shaitan was kicked out of the Shemayim.
Mm-hmm.
We also know he was that he is allowed to stand before Yahuwah to accuse the brethren or to accuse the set apart ones. Now, but my question is his residency,
Yes.
because people, some say he reside in the Shemayim, not the third Shemayim where Yahuwah is, but
Mm-hmm.
and some say he reside here on the earth or the Iraqs.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, where does he reside? And
Mm-hmm.
I'll close the mic. Tuda Rabah.
And praise Father and Tuda Akut. So what the scriptures tells us, people say he reside in the earth, but that's actually not what the text tells us. That's not what the writings tells us. The writings tells us that he has been given dominion or authority over the earth. So the earth has been given over to him. It didn't say that he resides in the earth. Now, what we find in scripture is that he is the prince of the air. So he possesses a realm in the heavens. He goes through and forth in the heavens, throughout the heavens and the earth. But he does not reside in the earth, so to speak. He has been given dominion or authority over the earth according to the scriptures. And so that's what he has that freedom going to and fro, going back and forth, right? But he is in the lower, he reside in the lower heavens. Not certainly, he cannot go into the most set apart place. Nothing profane could. He cannot even go into what we would say the second heavens. He certainly could not, because it's reserved for the messengers of Yahuwah. So he certainly is not a messenger of Yahuwah. He's an adversary to the messengers. And so, just reflecting on what the text says, Akut, that would be my response to the question.
Great, Aki. Tuda Rabah.
Praise Father. You're welcome, Akut. Okay, praise Yahuwah, praise Father. Well, once again, we give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem, and I want to say to the once again for your for your participation, family, and just know that again, I still want to leave the microphone open. If there are any comments or questions, if you want to introduce yourself to the family. I know we have new family members here. New people, we have not heard your voices. We have not, we haven't heard you before, and we'd certainly like to hear from you. And so feel free if you'd like to come to the mic. The way it works on YouTube, if you're listening via YouTube, then we won't hear, there's not a way to tie you into the mic live. But if you write anything on the board, I'll share it with the room. Let me go to Aki Maganyahu. I see your flag, Aki. Please go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aki. I think I hear Aki Dani Al.
It's a lot of stuff been going on the past couple, I say probably months, and Yahuah been dealing with me as far as like keeping my mind stayed on him.
Mm-hmm.
And just today I've been reading the book of Hermas, you know what I'm saying, and it talks a lot about double mindedness and all that type of stuff. And I had a similar incident happen to me this morning. I was walking to my cousin, one of my cousins' house. He wanted me to do a favor and watch his house. So as I'm walking, I'm listening to a song from key, Yahuah Yahusha. Please remember to turn us back, you know. And as I'm listening to it, my mind, just staying on Yahuwah. out of nowhere, I heard some growling, you know, like a loud growl
Mm.
coming at me, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
I look up, and probably about 15 feet away from me was a big old German Shepherd.
Mm.
Fully grown German Shepherd, like running straight at me. And I remember, you know what I'm saying, my mind already on Yahuah, so, you know, it's kind of when it came at me, I went afraid. You know, I just got in my stance and got ready for it to charge and to approach me.
Yes.
But then the dog, when it seen that I was scared, it went out to the other way. It went out to the left.
Wow.
And it reminded me, like if we keep our, you know what I'm saying, cast our fears and cast our cares and all this other stuff and just trust in Yahuah,
yes.
keep our mind stayed on him,
yes.
then he gonna always, you know what I'm saying, give us a way of escape.
Allahu
You know
ya.
what I'm saying? As long as we got our trust in him. And I want to encourage everybody, you know what I'm saying, just please, you know what I'm saying, keep your mind on Yahuah. Whatever's going on, whether it be sickness, whether it be relationship problems, whether it be money problems, or big old dog that you know what I'm saying, just to cast all your cares on Yahuah, you know what I'm saying, trust in him. He got us, you know what I'm saying? He got us. Like, it's just amazing. And I just want to encourage everybody to, you know, just keep trusting him. No matter what's going on, just continue to trust in Yahuah. He won't let us down.
Yes.
He won't let us down, man. Allow
Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. That's an awesome testimony, Aki. I don't know if everybody was able to hear you because it was extremely low on my end, but I had my ear close to the speaker and I heard, and I hope everybody heard. But basically, what Aki Daniel was sharing was how he was walking earlier this morning, and it was just meditating on Yahuah, reflecting on Yahuah, and he heard a growl. He heard this fierce growl, and he looked up. It was a big old German Shepherd, basically staring him down. So he stopped and took a stance, ready for him to charge. And the dog moved and went in another direction. Even though he was in his initial response was one of attack, but yet Yahuah caused him to go in another direction. That remind me of Daniel, the prophet, the other Daniel, our ancestor Daniel, when he was thrown into the den with the lions, and how Yahuah stopped the mouths of the lions. And so the same Yahuah that exists yesterday is the same Yahuah that exists today and does take care of his people. And what Aki Daniel was saying is that no matter what we're going through, Mashpaka, let's keep our mind stayed on Yahuah because he is our deliverer. Praise Yahuah. And what one might intend for our destruction, Yahuah will always turn it. He will certainly turn it to our good. And even though the enemy might rise up against us, you see, Yahuah's word says that if we would live in accordance with his word, if we would seek to obey his word, then number one, if we go contrary to his word, then we would be the ones fleeing in 7 different directions. But if we would live in accordance with his word, he says, then he would cause our enemy who come against us one way, he would cause the enemy to flee against us 7 different directions. I mean, he's running so hard, he's confusing himself. He don't know which way to run. He don't know which way to turn because he just had an encounter with the favor of Yahuah, you see, that is upon your life, and that confuses the wicked. You see, a lot of people hate you because they're confused by the favor that's on your life. At work, I know Aki Magan Yahu's flag is open. Did I hear you, Aki Daniel? I thought I heard a microphone.
That wasn't me that time.
Oh, okay, Aki. Let me just share this real quick, and I'm gonna go back to Aki Magan Yahu. As you know, family, and I've said this before, and I don't want to keep saying it. I only say it to give Yahuah esteem. I only say it to give Yahuah esteem. But at my job, I manage the logistics department, the shipping department, and so all the people in that department, they go by my directions. But there's a few things that causes the people that I work with, you know, to always try to be an adversary to me. One, I've only been at the job for 3 years. And since being there, the person that was over the department that had been there for 20 plus years, that person was demoted and I was given the position. And that creates conflict, you see, with that person and animosity in that person toward me. Then I have people, and I'm not, listen, I'm just telling it like it is. I have Caucasians who have to um, answer to me, and they, unfortunately, it, it, speaking of these individuals, they don't like that, and so they're quite offended, and they do whatever it is they can to make my job difficult. Now, what happens is Yahuah always reveal, you know, when the enemy is at work against you, Yahuah reveals the work of the enemy. And he gives you wisdom to always be a step ahead of the enemy. He certainly does that for me. But what he does is he will reveal the working. He reveal the workings of the enemy. So, you know, these individuals, they say different things about me, and they'll just lie against me, outright lie against me. And excuse me. And so, give me just a second, please, family. Bear with me just for a second. Okay. Where is my mic? Where's my mic? Bear with me just for a second, family. Shadi, where's your mom? Come here. Come here, Shadi. You gotta go upstairs with Elijah. Elijah? Elijah? Take him upstairs, please. What happened? Okay, so then I'll come into it. Go ahead upstairs. The boy, go ahead upstairs. Go upstairs. Okay, I'm sorry about the interruption, family. Let me just try to pick back up from where I was. Okay, so you know, different people would come to me. Yahuah would cause others to come and say to me, strangers in most cases, to come and to tell me what is being said or what has been said about me. And so you'd have drivers who I've never seen before. And they'd come and they'd say, man, that person really don't like you. You know, this is what they say. What did you do? What did you do to that guy? You know, they'll say. And different things like that. And so that has gone on for I had one man who started working there. He's been there about a year now, and just a few months after he started working there, he's been doing that, starting a few months after he started working. But and I've been told, and in my face, sometimes he tried to challenge me, and then he realized, okay, that's not going anywhere, and then he tried to play it off. He say he apologized, he's just stressed or whatever, but this guy, he just really have racial hatred in him. But then he tried to conceal it, but he can't help himself. But anyway, he's been saying a lot of things about me behind my back, and so I decided, after a driver said something to me this week. I walked into the office. I had to go take care of some stuff in the front office, and I came back. And so he had to respond to the door, to someone checking in. And he felt like he shouldn't have to stop what he was doing to do that. And so when he walked into the office, he said, "Where's this idiot at?" And he said it in a real venomous way, with a real venomous tone. And so the driver, one of the drivers that was in the office at the time when he said it, he thought it was quite offensive. So when I came into the office, the driver said, "Are you that idiot that other guy was looking for?" And I was stunned by the question. And it just really made me feel some kind of way. But immediately I knew who it was that said it. And so I said, "Well, yay, hey, I'm all kinds of stuff around here." So I waited. And what I did was I went and I had a brief meeting with the site leader, my boss, and I let him know, I said, "This has been going on for more than a year. I haven't said anything about it, but it's to the point where it's just really offensive, and I'm gonna, at this point, I've thought about saying something directly to this man, but before I did, I just wanted to speak to you about it to get your thoughts." And he was shocked, and he said, "Well, why haven't you said anything sooner?" I said, "Well, I just figure I'd let it roll off my back." So he said, "Well, do you want to speak to him about it, or do you want me to speak to him, or is there anything? Is there some action that you want to see me take?" I said, "Well, you know what? I intended to talk to him directly, and then if nothing changes, then I intend to bring it to your attention again, so that something would be done." So he wanted to know if I wanted him to take action. So I said, "No, I'll speak to him." So what I did was I waited until the end of the day, and then I pulled him to the side and I told him, I said, this has been brought to my attention several times, and it was just again brought to my attention this morning, and this is what was stated that you said. Well, he denied all of it, and I didn't expect anything different. He denied all of it. And so he said, "There's only one problem I have with you." He said, "I feel like you talk down to me and you don't treat me like a member of the team." I said, "Well, give me an example, because I'm not aware. I didn't think I was talking down to you, but give me an example." So he said, "Well, like when you asked me to sweep up our area." I said, "Rick, that's a part of our job description, to keep our work area clean." He said, "But you ask me, but you don't ask anybody else." And he interpreted that as me talking down to him. And I said, "That's not the case." I said, "Number one," I said, "the other guys do it without me having to ask them. And even if it's slow, there's nothing to do. You won't pick up a broom and do it, And so he felt like, according to him, I'm talking down to him. So he said that was the problem. He said that's one of the problems, and he can't think of the rest of them. But that's one of the problems he have with me. But it's just nonsense. And so anyway, I took some steps afterwards. After that, I sent out an email to everybody, to all my team, all the guys under me, remind them of what our responsibilities are. And so he got the message. I copied my boss on it, and so he responded, and they see that I'm not talking down to you. This is just, it's that should be common sense. But I say that to say, Talking about that dog, Aki, Daniel, you know, and how the enemy will rise up against you, but yet Yahuwah will cause them to flee in all kinds of direction. You know, I just say that to kind of piggyback, so to speak, on what you had to say, and to give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem for his favor, for his mercy, for his protection, you know, and for keeping the enemy at bay, even when the intent of the enemy is to really utterly destroy us. Okay, now I want to go ahead and if you would, Aki Maganyahu, please go ahead, Aki.
Concerning what Akushar was saying, where Tom resides. In the book of Yahweh or Job, we see him coming into the courts of Yahuwah to question him. And I'm curious, I guess, time frame, how this all fits chronologically as to when Shatan was thrown out of Shahim and when he came to see Yahuwah concerning Ayub. So, yeah, I guess that's my question. I'm not sure about how all that fits together.
Okay. Yes. So again, I've got to figure out how I can make. I think it's my computer somehow, because everybody sounds really low. I've got to figure out how to get that to work better. I guess in time I'll figure it out. But yeah. So the question from Akim Aganyahu was, so you know, Shaitan came and presented himself to Yahuwah. In his court. There is a microphone open. Just check your speakers. Check your microphone for me, family. I want to go to. Let me just go to the text real quickly as I prepare to respond to the question. Ayub, what they call Job. Let's see. Let me get to the text here. Ayub chapter 1. Okay. There is a mic open. I'm kind of hearing myself twice. If you could just check your microphone for me, or your speaker, something. Check your mics for me, family. It's feeding back into the room. Ayub chapter 1. Let me see if I can identify which mic is open. Check 1. Okay, can't see it there. It's not fused. It doesn't seem as if it's fused. Oh, Akuda Yashuba's mic is open. It seems to be muted. Oh, yes, it is open. Okay. Let me see. Did that do it? Okay, great. I think it went away. All right. Okay, so Ayub, or Job chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Ayub, spelled A-Y-U-B, correctly spelled. And that man was perfect and straight, and one who feared Elohim and turned aside from evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. And his possessions were 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 female donkeys and a very large body of servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people in the east. And his sons went and had a feast in the house of each of his day, and sent and invited their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it came to be, when the days of feasting had gone round, that Ayub would send and set them apart, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings, the number of them all. For Ayub said, it might be that my sons have sinned, transgressed, and cursed Elohim in their hearts. This Ayub always did. And the day came to be that the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah, and Shaitan also came among them. And Yahuwah said to Shaitan, from where do you come? And Shaitan answered Yahuwah and said, from diligently searching in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said to Shaitan, have you considered my servant Ayub, that there is none like him on the earth, a perfect and straight man, one who fears Elohim and turns aside from evil? And Shaitan answered Yahuwah and said, Is Ayub fearing Elohim for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, and around his household, and around all that he has on every side? And have Baruch the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land? But stretch out your hand, please, and strike all that he has, if he would not curse you to your face. And Yahuwah said to Shaitan, See, all that he has is in your hand. Only do not lay a hand on himself. And Shaitan went out from the presence of Yahuwah. And the day came to be when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the house of their brother, the firstborn. And the messenger came to Ayub and said, The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding alongside them when bear with me just for a second, family, please. I did already.
No. And they not listening to you. No. No. Come on, let's go. Go ahead. Go upstairs. I'm gonna deal with all of you. Go ahead. Exactly, you didn't.
Nunu was calling. Bear with me here for a second, family. My apologies for the interruption, family. Don't know. Okay, my apologies for the interruption. My wife's family had stopped by, and she was talking to them outside. The kids, they want to be a part of it all, so that's why you hear all that crying and fussing in the background. My apologies. Okay. Where was I at? I was reading the text. Yeah, so so basically the timeline and how did that occur? The only thing the scriptures gives us is that a day came when the messengers of Yahuwah presented themselves to Yahuwah, right? You can understand this too. You get an idea from the book Tuda Akut. You get an idea of how this plays out when you look at the book of Hanuk. Yahuwah, the messengers of Yahuwah, they're called watchers, right? And they're given assignments in the earth. And so from time to time they would present themselves before Yahuwah. And so this would be one of those days where the messengers or the watchers would present themselves to Yahuwah, and here Shaitan present himself with them also. Now, the text does not tell us where, but based on what we can gather from the rest of Scripture, this would not be in the most set apart place. It would be safe to assume that this would not be in the most set apart place, because Shaitan had been cast down, and so he was defiled and profane, and nothing profane can present itself and live in the most set apart place. And so, yes, yes, monthly business meeting, so to speak. So, it doesn't tell us, you don't have a great deal of detail, what time of the month it was, whatever the case is. We just know that this was a time, as they would normally do, present themselves before Yahuwah. And so here is the opportunist, the adversary, looking for an opportunity. Oh, you see them going in, and so he thought, you know what, let me go on in there with them, you see. And so he presented himself also. And basically he says, listen, I need something to do, I'm a little bit bored. And I've been going to and fro trying to find somebody to mess with. And yes, perhaps the second Shamayim. Most likely is what it would be. We can only deduce that more than likely is probably the second Shamayim. So the lower heavens have been given to him. He is the prince of the air, according to the text, you see. And so more than likely it would be the second Shamayim. Yes, absolutely, Aki. Just like the high priest could not present himself before Yahuwah unclean in the earthly Haykal. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, the atmosphere is Shaitan's. The atmosphere is Shaitan's. Then it's no wonder when you think about this realm. It's no wonder that you see the earthly Shaitan having total control over the atmosphere, right? He puts his poison in the air, and he rains it down on us, and whatever he does, that's his territory also, right? That's his seed. So the physical Shaitan is the seed of the spiritual Shaitan. Just like we are Yahuwah's seed, Shaitan does have his seed in the earth. Wicked men, you see. All right. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, he was an uninvited guest. Uninvited guest. Absolutely. He was an uninvited guest. I'm looking at responses from YouTube. That was from Tammy, I believe. It might be Akut Tammy Green, that is. That just commented. Well, let me just read a key Lord's, or is it Akut? My apologies. I don't want to misrepresent or offend. Lords Martinez wrote, Yahuwah has provided a new place for me and my sons. We move next week. Praise Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. We truly give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem for that, Lords, and say Tuda Yahuwah for his work and his provision. Hallelujah. May Yahuwah barak you in this new place, and may he barak your children also. Praise Father. Okay. There was, Aki Maganyahu did come to the mic. Was there another flag? Was there another flag, family? Just want to...
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Aku.
Okay. A question was on the board in the on YouTube from M. Harrison.
Okay.
And the question was Shaitan an animal, or was he a ruach or spirit?
Oh yes, Tuda. I did see that question and I had forgotten. So Tuda Rabbah for raising that again, because it is an important question. Yes, so Shaitan was not literally an animal, but rather a spiritual foe, a messenger of Yahuwah, a servant of Yahuwah, but not literally an animal, not literally a snake. Um, the snake really speaks of his character, you know, him being likened to the serpent, really speaks of his character, the way he behaved, you know, but not literally, not literally a snake. I don't. I believe, and I again, you do not find. You have to kind of combine picture, scripture with scripture. You see, consider what the rest of scriptures say concerning Shaitan. You see, the only place we see Shaitan referenced to literally as a snake is there in the book of Barashit. But in other places, he was no different than the other watchers or the other messengers that was created by Yahuwah. As a matter of fact, we have descriptions of Shaitan. Now we have, keep in mind, you have the earthly Shaitan that Yahuwah speaks of in the book of Ezekiel. That was actually a king. But you have descriptions of Shaitan that does not describe him as a serpent while he was in the heavens, you see. And so I believe that that description of him being a snake is just in reference to his character, you know, the way he behaved, how conniving he was, and you know, just the whole think about a snake, you see, as just his character, his characteristics. Okay. Um, let's see. All right. Now, hope any other questions or comments there, family, before we move on? If not, then we're gonna prepare to go to back to the book of Zechariah. Yes, 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 certainly, certainly, yes, yes, and that's. I'm just reading the comment, the response from uh, M. Harrison. Yes, indeed, it was making reference to Barashit. Yes, and that yes. So I believe there that it's not literally that he was a snake, because again, the way we study scripture is line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, and as you can contemplate the rest of scripture, you see that he was no different than any other messengers that was created by Yahuwah. But if you only take into account Barashit and translation, the way it's translated, you would think that Shaitan was created a snake, you know. But really, it's really, what I gather from my study is that it's in reference to his character, and not literally that he was a snake. You see. What's interesting is that the Jews, you know, the Jews have a teaching about, they have, you know, the Jews, they put together lessons, like daily lessons. This is the lesson you do for the day and for the week and whatever. And they have a schedule. And they have a package for their children's thing too. And in one of their lessons is how the serpent got its legs, you know, and they teach literally that Shaitan was created a snake, and then no, how the serpent lost his legs is how they title their lesson, how the serpent lost his legs. And so what they teach is that the snake used to walk upright, and then he lost his legs because of what he did, you know. So it's just a mythical thing. At the end of the day, it's just a mythical thing, when that's not what the scriptures is actually teaching. Yahuwah is actually giving us a glance into his character, his behavior, the way he acted, there's how slimy he was, you see. So so to speak. So, you know, it's but Judaism actually teaches, and even Christianity teaches, that Shaitan was once, he was always a snake, and that he used to walk upright, and then when he did what he did, he lost his legs. So it's not just Judaism that teaches that. Christianity also teaches it. You will see it in like kids Bible books. You'll see them having a snake upright in some of those books and stuff like that. So it's common among those religions to teach that stuff. Okay. Okay. So once again, I want to say Tada for not allowing me to forget that question. Any other comments or questions before we? Could evil touch me and my sons? The blood of Yahusha protects. Let me see. I'm just looking at some comments from YouTube. Let me just look here. Even with their statues and witchcraft, could evil touch me and my sons? Yeah. Okay. Now, good question there also. I'm reading a question from Lords Martinez. Even with their statues and witchcraft, could evil touch my sons? Okay, here's another, and let me share with you another of my experiences at work. Real quickly. I have a guy at work. His wife is a witch. They're proud of, this is their way of life. This is their thing. His wife is a proud witch, and he's a proud what they call the man witch. Man witch. They call what they call him again? I forget what he would be called. But that's what they're into, right? And so a few weeks back he showed someone pictures of dolls that his wife has. And there was, he's this guy that is just selfish and self-centered, and he wants things his way all the time and so on. And so he gets upset at people just for no reason, if he can't have his way. And so he had this picture of these voodoo dolls on his phone. There's another name for him. There's another name for the man. And not Wiccan, but there's another name they call the man. I forget what it is now. So they call the female a witch.
Is it warlock, a key?
Yes, that's it, a warlock. Yeah, so he's a warlock. Tada. He showed someone a picture on his phone. He had these dolls, and he had, I think there were 4 dolls, and one of them was a black doll. So what he told the guy was the black doll was me. Black doll represented me. This is a voodoo doll, and what they believe, they do stuff to the doll, and it affects whoever it's supposed to be. The doll represent. So the black doll was me, and then the other doll was these other guys, that work there in the department. So the same day that he showed the doll to his friend, and his friend told me about it, and which caused me to. His friend said, "Hey, did Craig show you what he had on his phone?" So I said, "No, I don't want to see it." So he said, "No, you got to see this." So I didn't know what it was. I just knew it wasn't going to be nothing good. So he insists. He said, "No, you got to see this." So he insists. So I said, "Okay, let me see." So now he's put in a position where he has to show me what's on his phone because his friend kind of gave him up. So I looked and I saw these dolls. So he laughed about it. So he said, his friend said, "Oh, that one's Mike." He said, "No, this one." He had 2 black dolls on there. He said, "No, this one's Mike." So yeah. So the idea is, so anyway, later on that day, he got in an accident on the premises. So one of the other guys who work in the department said to him, "Well, Craig, I guess our voodoo doll is stronger than your voodoo doll because you got in an accident." So he got really mad. So when he got really mad, he said, "Well, they're not activated yet." He said his voodoo dolls weren't activated yet. But now, so he has a doll of me, a voodoo doll of me, and that doll is supposed to, when he do things to that doll, or when they do things to that doll, is supposed to do something to me. As far as I'm concerned, those dolls are useless. I'm not scared, I'm not panicked, I'm not concerned, because they're useless. You see, what Yahuwah's scriptures tell me, that's an idol. You see, according to the word of Yahuwah, that's an idol. And what does Yahuwah say about those idols? He says they have ears, they have eyes, but they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear. And they have mouths, but they do not speak. They are powerless. You see, they're truly powerless. So when it comes to witchcraft, what makes witchcraft so wicked? Is it because it has any power? No. Witchcraft really have no power. Now, you know, it's interesting and amazing. The heart, the scriptures tells us that the heart is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. The heart, that's where the issue is. The issue is in the heart. So when people who believe in this stuff, when they can recount encounters and they can tell you that, yeah, I believe in this and I saw this happen and I saw that happen, is it that it really, really happened? Or is it the deceitful and the deceptive heart at work? It's not that the idol had any power, but rather it's the deceitful, deceptive heart that's deceiving the believer. You see, it's not like the idol had any power to do anything. It's not like the idol did anything, because the idol can do nothing. Microphone is open there, Aki. I believe Aki Maganyahu's mic is open via Google. Let me see. Yeah, so it's not that the idol had any power to do anything, but the deceptive heart, the deceitful heart will have you thinking that it actually did something. You see. So those idols, according to Yahuwah's word, those idols have no power. And they really don't have any power. It's like somebody with their Buddha. You have a Buddha. The very thing that's, they say, supposed to bring you quote unquote blessings. But yet the Buddha need you to carry it around. The Buddha need you to feed it. The Buddha need you to rub his stomach. And the Buddha have no life. The Buddha have no breath. The Buddha have no power. You see, it's no different than when in the book of Shamuel we read where they took the ark of the contract of Yahuwah and they put it next to their mighty one Dagon, and Yahuwah knocked over Dagon, knocked him on his face. Dagon was powerless. They went in the next morning, they saw him laying on his face, and they sat him back up next to Yahuwah. So the next day they went in again, and now Dagon was on his face again, but this time he is smashed in pieces. You see, idols have no power, and it's the same thing in this case. So, you know, when it comes to their witchcraft, when it comes to their idols, those idols can do nothing to us, family. It's important that we do not Aki Maganyahu, your mic is on muted there, Aki. I'm trying to mute it. I don't think it will let me. Yeah, so it's on Google Plus, it's unmuted. So you know, it's important that we do not begin to put our belief in their idols, because then our deceitful hearts will deceive us into thinking that the idol is actually something. You see, but the idol has no power, so you need not fear that, because their idol can do nothing to you nor to your children. You see. Okay. Now there was another question. Skin, about the skin. Let me see if I can find that. I'm looking at questions from YouTube. Okay, from M. Harrison again. One more question. A key man was given skins by Yahuwah. Does that mean we were Ruach male, which are warlocks? Okay, okay, great. No, okay. So here is what happened. Man was given skin or a cover. As a matter of fact, not just the skin, but we were given a frame, right? Now, what is man? And now we have to go into the discussion of the soul. What is the soul? Now, the soul is not what Christianity teaches that the soul is. According to Christianity, when we talk about soul, you get the idea of a shadowy figure like Casper, the friendly ghost, so to speak. You know, so according to Christianity, the soul is this shadowy figure that lives inside of each of us, and the soul is separate from you. The soul creates a trinity, so to speak. And well, really, that's what Christianity teaches, because it's all about Trinity, you see. So you have the soul according to Christianity. Now, according to Scripture, man is a soul. According to Scripture, man is a soul. Okay? It's the complete man that makes up a soul. Okay? In other words, the soul is not just some ghostly thing inside of you that leaves your body. That's not what the soul is. But according to the scriptures, man is soul. Now I'm going to go to, let me just go to Bereshit here and read this. I believe it's in chapter 2. Let me see. I believe we're in chapter 2. Bear with me just for a second. All right. Now, in the book of Bereshit, in Genesis, Bereshit, in chapter 1, when we look at the text in the Abari, in the Abari text, when we look at it, the scriptures in the Abari text, you see where it says, let us, that don't exist. That's something that the Christian translators put in, again, to promote the Trinity. You see where it says, let us don't exist. You see? So Yahuwah made man in his image, according to his likeness, and let them rule, cause them to rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of Shamayim, and over livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the earth. And Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created him, male and female he created them. And Elohim baruch them and said, bear and increase. Now, I believe it's in chapter 2 where he formed man of the dust of the ground. I believe that part is in chapter 2. So let me fast forward to chapter 2. There's just something I want to point out as we talk about this. Okay. The skin, the covering. Okay, so let's go over to chapter 2. Okay, chapter 2 and verse 7. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. And Yahuwah, is my screen being seen on Google? Family, can you see my screen on Google? But maybe not. Let's see. Okay, it is. Okay. All right. Okay, let me go back to it. Okay. Okay, so chapter 2 and verse 7. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and the man became a living being or a living soul. So what is the soul? The soul is a combination of dirt and the breath of Yahuwah. When the two comes together, when dirt is combined with the breath of Yahuwah, then you get the soul, or then you get a soul. And so the individual is the soul. You see, the soul does not exist apart from the individual. So notice, Yahuwah breathed into his nostril and man became a living soul or a living being. Okay? So the breath of Yahuwah. So where does man come from? One, from the earth, and from Yahuwah. Yahuwah's breath. That's why Shaul says that it is in him, or it is through him, or it is because of him that we live and breathe and move and have our being, because it is the nasham of Yahuwah, the breath. Okay, the breath, or the nafash. Nafash comes from nasham, the breath. So all people that exist have the breath of Yahuwah in them. All people that exist have the breath of Yahuwah, but not all people have the ruach of Yahuwah, right? So it is the nafash of Yahuwah, the breath of Yahuwah, that animates us. It is the breath of Yahuwah that gives us life, you see. Now, when we die, when we go to sleep, according to the scriptures, that breath that came from Yahuwah goes back to Yahuwah. And that breath is just that. It's breath. It's not anything that look like Casper, the friendly ghost. It's not any of that. It is simply the breath of Yahuwah that's in us. And that breath leaves us and goes back to Yahuwah. You see. So it's not like we existed and we're floating around somewhere and then Yahuwah get a hold of us as we floated around and then put some skin on us, you know. That breath came directly from him, meaning then that we existed in him even before we were manifested in the earth. That's why the prophet Yahuah said that before I was formed in my mother's womb, you knew me. How did Yahuwah know him even before he was formed in his mother's womb? Because he came from Yahuwah. He existed in Yahuwah because he was identified in Yahuwah, because what we have, we exist because of Yahuwah's breath. You see. So the soul is a combination of dirt, earth that we were formed from, and breath. And we are dirt. That's why when you take, no matter how you wash, you get something, get you a white rag and rub yourself, and dirt will always come off of you because you are dirt. You see? And when we die, we return to dirt, or so we should return to dirt. We're not to be buried in any caskets, concrete or metal or whatever, or even wood. We are to be wrapped in linen and return to the earth. You see, and the linen breaks down and it all returns to the earth. That's how our people were buried, you know, but we are dirt. And so, you know, to answer, it's not from the perspective of witches and warlocks, M. Harrison, you know, that, you know, kind of we were floating around and then, you know, the Creator put skin on us. No, we weren't floating around anywhere. We existed in Yahuwah, and then Yahuwah brought us out of him and gave us a personality, gave all of us personality, you see. And so hopefully I answered the question. if you need any further clarity, if I missed something, by all means, please let me know. All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, you know what we're going to do now, family? It's 4 o'clock my time. It's 4 p.m. my time. We're going to take a break as we usually do. We're going to take a break so that you can get something to eat, get refreshed, and then we're going to come back in about a half an hour or so, half an hour, 35 minutes, and then we're going to get into our study for today from the book of Zechariah. We were in chapter 12 last week and verse 10, and we had gone over to the book of Revelation, or Katsun, chapter 1, as we look at worked our way through that book. And so I see. Okay. Okay, to that. I thought it was a question. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, Warlock, right. Okay, so just so the rest of the family who are not seeing the comments on YouTube that I'm responding to, him Harrison had said no, he had just or she please, Aki, is it Aki or Aku? Let me know, please. They had just posted the thing about the flesh and so on because I'd mentioned Warlock, and so yeah. Okay. To that, and I'm sorry. Okay, I thought it was a question that was being asked. My bad. All right, so we're gonna take a break here, family, and then we're gonna come back, and we're gonna go to the book of Zechariah. This is Zechariah. We're in chapter 12. And we stopped at verse 10. We'll pick back up there. I see your flag, Aki Franklin. Please go ahead, Aki. Mike's yours, Aki. Let me see if I can unmute it for you. It seems. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was just wanting to remind you of a question that Aki Willie had earlier. I don't think you see it.
Okay. Oh, what was it again, Aki? Remind me. I missed it.
Posted in the discussion board, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me get to it here. Okay, so that's from Isaiah 14, and 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 19, Revelation 22:16, talking about the son of the morning, day star and morning star. Want to know if they all tie together? Aki Willie's question. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry I missed that earlier. Okay, so morning star and day star. It's an important question, an interesting question also, because the book in the translation of the Bible, in the translation, the NIV translation, many people are not aware that the NIV Bible is actually what you call those people again? What are they called? Shriners. It's a Shriners Bible, and the Shriners, like the Masons and people like that, they're occultic people. Okay, they're occultic people, and they believe in the worship of darkness, in the worship of Shaitan. And so therefore, what they did, as you study the scriptures concerning son of the morning, day star, morning star, there is really a difference between them, because one is in reference to Lucifer and one is in reference to Mashiach, you see. And so Lucifer and I've got to go back and look at the scriptures again. So I don't want to mix up the two, because it's been a while since I've read the scriptures on it. So I don't mix up the two and do exactly what the Masons do, because sometimes things run together. I don't want to run that risk. What I will say right now is that they're really different. It's two different references. One speaks of Shaitan, one points to Yahuah Hamashiach. But what the Masons do is the Masons, for example, in the NIV Bible, they use the one title to the title that refers to Mashiach. They use it to make reference to Lucifer, you see, and that's an abomination. That's wickedness. But they're different titles, and again, I don't want to pinpoint which one goes where, because I don't want to cross and mix anything up. Again, I've got to go back and read the scriptures again to make sure I present it correctly. But I'll just say right at this point, I'll just say that it is important to understand that they speak of two different, maybe I should say entities, not the same. Okay, and so again, I don't want to pinpoint right now, but when you go to the scriptures, and as we look at it, you see it, but I don't recall right now which one applies to what, and I don't want to cross anything. Okay, but they're different, and that's an important difference to note. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a pinpoint answer, Aki, because again, things kind of run together. Feel like it's running together in my head right now. I don't want to mess up in that regard, so I'll just leave it in a general sense for right now. But yes, you're correct. They're different and should be noted as different. Yes, go ahead, Aki.
To piggyback on earlier when we was talking about Shaitan being human too.
Mm-hmm.
They said those Mason guys supposed to be like Shaitan in the flesh, you know, so like human.
Yes.
What they call them.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely right, Aki. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes, indeed. All right. Yes. Yeah. So I think Aki Franklin just shared the first reference to the morning star as an individual in Isaiah 14:12. How you have fallen from Shamayim, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. Now there is something else here to be noted, because while people take this text and refer to it as speaking of the spiritual adversary, in context, this was actually speaking of an earthly foe, the king of a nation. And it's important to keep that in mind there also. The king of Tyre, that's right, you see. Also known as, there's another name for the king of Tyre. What is it again? Tyre, Adum, Zor, right, Zor, which is later tied to Adum. Okay, yes. So yes, that's actually speaking of a king, you see. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that the scriptures also refer to people as Shaitan, you see. All right. Once again, to the hope that, you know, we didn't give some clarity concerning that, Aki Willie. And if there are any more questions, follow-up questions, then, you know, let us know. Well, we're gonna go to break here, family. We're gonna break for about a half an hour, 35 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and we'll get into our study from the book of Zechariah. Well, I'm gonna stop the broadcast on YouTube, family. Also, I'm just going to stop the broadcast here. We'll pick up, I'll reopen the room, I'll have to open up another broadcast for YouTube. So I'll send out an invite for the new link to Google and YouTube, and you can also go directly to the YouTube channel in a half an hour or so, 35 minutes, and you can click on the broadcast link, and it will take you right in if you are joining us from YouTube. If you're joining us from Google Plus, I'll send out the link, and you can click on that invite, and it'll take you to Google Plus. You can join the assembly there, and again, you can come right back to Fuse. If you're joining us on Fuse, you can come right back into Fuse. On Fuse, the room number is 2320341. But we're going to pick up where we left off in our study last week as we continue to look at the subject of Mashiach, not just from the new writings, but from Torah and the prophets, the subject of Mashiach. That's what we have been on for a little while. We had taken a break from it to cover the subject of the feast there for a little while, but we're back on the subject of Mashiach, because again, this is a great stumbling block for our people. A lot of people have bought the lie that there is no Mashiach, and they say that you can't find Mashiach anywhere except in the so-called New Testament, and that is actually not true. Not true. More and more people I see falling for that. And then you have people, again, if you don't know who you're looking for, how are you going to find them? If you don't know who you're looking for, how are you going to find them? So the key is to understand and to know, according to Scripture, who is Mashiach. You see, the Scripture says that we have only one Elohim. And if Mashiach is some other Elohim beside Yahuwah himself, then we have a problem. Because we no longer have just one Elohim, we have more than one, you see. We have more than one mighty one. Yasharallah has only one mighty one. The earth has only one creator, you see. And so that's what we're looking at. And then you have people who teach the Trinity or duality and all kinds of alities and reality. Are not so much reality. Reality is supposed to be real. But people have all kinds of alities, you see, and isms. But so we're going to continue to study the scriptures on Mashiach, and we're in the book of Zechariah. That's where we are. That's why we're in that book. The entire book speaks of Mashiach, and so that's where we are. So when we come back from break, family, we're going to pick up in chapter 12. And we were at verse 10 last week, and so we'll pick up from there. And so Yahuwah willing, I will see you there. Yes, indeed. Helal, the shining one. Yes. Figuratively speaking of the king of Babylon. Yes, indeed. And so that here you have a physical man, Shaitan, Lucifer, you see. And Lucifer continue to exist today in the earth, just as you have the spiritual fallen one. But that's his seed in the earth. Just like Yahuwah's seed is in the earth, Shaitan's seed is in the earth. All right. Well, family, and so we're going to take a break here, and Yahuwah willing, we're going to come back and we're going to dive into the scriptures some more. Once again, Tudah for sharing in this fellowship with us today, and we do look forward to returning and getting back to yes indeed, Aki, yes, absolutely. And that's what context is a beautiful thing, you see. If we exclude context, then we miss the message, and that's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing to miss the message. If you miss the message, imagine you miss the message. Imagine missing the message, but then you're expected to carry the message. Imagine somebody giving you a message, you didn't get the message, or you got the message twisted, and now you're expected to deliver the message. And now you might be a little prideful where now you don't want to go back and ask, what did you say again? What should I tell them? So your pride stops you from going back and saying, listen, I didn't hear you very well. Could you repeat that? And so your pride stopped you from doing that, and you going to carry on with a message that you didn't fully get. So what happens now? Now you're carrying your own message. And that's what a lot of people are doing. You see? A lot of people are carrying tradition, proclaiming tradition rather than truth. You see? A lot of people are spreading tradition rather than the recipe, so to speak. You see? Yahuwah gave us a recipe, but people aren't proclaiming the recipe. They're telling people how, well, this is the way I cook it. You see? And so they have the people of Yahuwah eating slop rather than eating things according to the instructions of Yahuwah. All right. Well, we're going to take a break, family, and I'll be seeing you in about a half an hour, 35 minutes. It's 15 minutes past the hour now. 14 minutes past the hour, actually. Let's round it off to 15. So I'll see you in about a half an hour to 45 minutes. I'm going to take a break. Shalom. I'm going to go ahead and think I can play our thing here. Let me just put it on as we go to break. Bear with me just for 1 second. How do I do it again? Give me 1 second. I'm going to put this on as we go to break. Okay, yeah. Where is it at? Let's find it. Add video. Oh, here we go. I'm going to put this on as we go to break. Where is it at? No, that's not it. None of those are it. And I'll try again. I'm just trying to put on our intro video as we go to break here, but it's not coming up. It's not the one I'm looking for. Interesting. All right, it's showing stuff that I'm not looking for. Never mind. All right, family, we're going to go to break. I'll see you in a little while. Shalom. Cancel. We're live.